In 1991, when Kazakhstan became independent, it vowed that by 2050, it would be amongst the top 30 most developed economies of the world. The Sustainable Development Goals, especially SDG 8, requires the economic development to be sustainable, inclusive and equitable. And it requires the countries to promote work and employment opportunities in a way that they are equally available to all people, all citizens of the country, regardless of their abilities or disabilities. Moving in the right direction, Kazakhstan in 2005 was among the first signatories of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Disabled People. And then in 2015, Kazakhstan also ratified the convention. This is a very important step in the right direction. But it also puts a huge responsibility on the countries that signed and ratified this convention. This convention requires a country, its government, its civil society, the organizations that are operating in the society, all of them to make a conscious effort to make people with disabilities an equal and valued member of the society. And for that to happen, the environment in which they operate should be inclusive, equitable and accessible to people with disabilities. People with disabilities make up about 15% of the world's total population. There are more than 1 billion people with disabilities around the world. They are world's largest minority. And these are the people who can make valuable contribution to the economic growth of any nation. But for that to happen, the environment in which they operate has to create those opportunities for them, has to accept them, value them, acknowledge them as valued members of the society. When we look at Kazakhstan, the national statistics tells us that there are about 4% of the total population is registered as disabled people. Now this 4% is considerably low compared to the 15% of the world's population and 26%, for example, in the American population, which is the number of the registered people with disabilities. And I think this leads us to the first problem about acknowledging the rights of disabled people in Kazakhstan. When we look at the definitions of disability, there are two models of defining disability. The medical model of disability tells us that disability happens because of the impairment of the individual. So it's the individual that is disabled, and because of that disability, the individual is unable to be a valued or contributing member of the society. The Soviet bloc has left that kind of legacy that Kazakhstan had carried forward. So in the former Soviet Union, it's a very famous incident when the Para-Olympics were happening. The Soviet representative was asked, is Soviet Union going to take part in the Para-Olympics? And the representative said very proudly that there are no invalids in Soviet Union. This shows the mentality that was happening at that time and unfortunately is still prevalent today, due to which disabled people are hidden, they are not acknowledged and they are not really part of the society. So when you look around yourself, how many people in Kazakhstan do you really see with a white stick or on a wheelchair, or people with Down syndrome or people with cerebral palsy? I'm sure they exist, but we don't see them. They are kind of hidden. And that is the first problem. So this 4% statistics is the first problem towards acknowledging the right of people with disability. In comparison to the medical model of defining disability, there is another model which is known as the social model of disability. In social model, the civil society or the government or whoever is defining disability or working towards disability, they believe that disability is not because of the impairment of the person, but it's the environment that stops the person from becoming a valued or fully contributing member of the society. So the disability does not lie within a person, but within the environment that makes a person disabled. The social model of the disability focuses on the abilities of the people rather than disability. It focuses on integration and adjustment to the infrastructure. Kazakhstan has made indeed good steps towards this direction. So if we look at the constitution of Kazakhstan, it provides equal access and equal opportunities for work, and it does not allow discrimination on the basis of disability towards people with disability. So that's the first step in the right direction. Then the government and the policies are also moving in the right direction. For example, the National Plan 2025 has 7 key points for making people with disability become an integrated part of the society. And some of the key points are removing barriers, that physical barriers, making the infrastructure accessible, providing inclusive educational opportunities, and changing attitudes of the society towards disabled people, so including them. So the focus is on inclusivity and readjustment rather than preventing of disability. So in 2015, when Kazakhstan ratified the United Nations Convention for the Right of the Disabled People, it also launched a program. The Nur Otan party, the ruling party, launched a program called Kadergisiz Gelecek, which in English translates to Future Without Barriers. Now this is a key program that works for the integration and inclusivity of people with disability in the society. Along with the National Plan 2025, a lot of things are going in the right direction, and I believe Kazakhstan is moving from the medical model towards the social model of disability. However, when you look at the implications of these policies on the lives of the people with disabilities in Kazakhstan, it is not really a big transformation, and this thing has been acknowledged by the President Tokayev himself, who has mentioned in his address to nation in February 2021 that he is disappointed at the state of infrastructure accessibility for disabled people. 80% of the buildings in Kazakhstan are inaccessible for people with disability, and 20% are partially accessible. So when the buildings are inaccessible, we limit the mobility of disabled people. We limit their opportunities to access a lot of facilities. And I think first step in this direction should be moving the physical barriers of the infrastructure, towards which things are going in the right direction, but there's still a long way to go. The second important statistic to note here, that among the people with disability in Kazakhstan, only a quarter of them are employed or have some sorts of work opportunity. Now this statistic is very low compared to the developed countries, in which 50 to 70% of the population has access to work. They are employed or they have some sorts of employment opportunities. Now this statistic is very low, and there is something that needs to be done. So removing physical barriers is first step. The second step, I believe, that is very important is acknowledging that disabled people exist. They are around us. We must acknowledge their presence. We must create opportunities for them, and especially in terms of entrepreneurship, the opportunities can be creating training opportunities, providing financial support to them. Right now, apart from charitable support from some big organizations, oil companies, or from Damu Organizational Fund, there are not really some solid financial viable options available to people with disabilities, and finance is a key factor for entrepreneurs with disability to move forward. So I want to give here an example of an impressive entrepreneur with disability from Kazakhstan. His name is Birjan. He is from Kostanay region in Kazakhstan. Birjan was a former police officer, and one day when he was doing his work, due to the very cold weather and due to the electricity going out, he lost the heating supply, and he could not find a way to get out of his trailer. And during this time, due to frostbite, he lost his legs. And when he lost his legs, he lost his job as well. Now the job gave him some money to live a normal life, but obviously that money was not enough for him and for his future aspirations. So while Birjan lost his legs, he did not lose his courage, he did not lose his perseverance, and he started thinking, what can I do with my life? Somebody donated a piece of furniture to him. They gave it to him for free. He worked on it and turned it into a very nice cupboard, which somebody bought from him. And this gave Birjan the idea, I can be a carpenter. And Birjan started his furniture business. His company is called Gibadat. Gibadat is now a very big company. Birjan employs 35 people in this company. 21 out of these 35 people are people with disabilities. This shows that when we give opportunities to people with disabilities, not only they contribute to the economic development, they also contribute towards solving social problems, especially for people with disabilities. Birjan he once met a little boy with his mom, and the boy was suffering from cerebral palsy. And that was the first time he has seen a child suffering from cerebral palsy. He asked the mom why the child cannot walk. The mom told him that he needs an equipment which is known as a verticalizer, and it is made in Soviet Union. It costs $3,500. The family cannot afford it. So he went on a mission to make this verticalizer in Kazakhstan. He went, did a lot of research, spoke to doctors, orthopedics, and you won't believe it, from $3,500 he brought the cost down to $280 and made in Kazakhstan that verticalizer. Because of him, now 75% of children in Kostanay region suffering from cerebral palsy are able to walk. And most of these verticalizers he has actually donated rather than selling to those parents. So, giving opportunities, acknowledging these people, acknowledging they exist, acknowledging and focusing on their abilities rather than focusing on their disabilities could be a very good step towards the first steps towards including people with disabilities in the economic development of Kazakhstan. Nursultan Nazarbayev, when he said that he wants Kazakhstan to be the 30 most developed economies by 2050, he's right. The country is moving in that direction, but the country needs to remember the economic growth has to be sustainable and inclusive, and for it to be inclusive, people with disabilities need to be included in this journey. They cannot be left behind. These people, as Birjan has said, he doesn't want any special treatment based on his disability. He doesn't want people to treat him differently because he is disabled. But he also don't want people to discriminate against him because of his disability. He just wants equal opportunities. And I'm sure the new generation of Kazakhstan is making this move towards the right direction. There is change in attitude, there is change in how people see, feel and behave towards people with disability, and there is hope for the future.